Welcome back to Mindful Monday, sponsored by River City OCD. We are now joined by Dr. B. And when people think of OCD, they often think of people rearranging things, wanting everything to be perfect, or washing their hands all the time. But there's actually a lot more to the story here. But what are some of those other subtypes?
Yeah, there's a lot. So contamination is one people are familiar with, hand washing, ritualized hygiene, but there are some others that kind of hide under the radar that people might not be aware of. One of those is scrupulosity. OCD is what we call it. So there's two different kinds. There's religious and moral. Sometimes they go hand in hand. Religious scrupulosity can look like things like feeling immoral, feeling like they might have blasphemed God or whoever they worship. They might feel that they've need to say their prayers a certain amount of times. A person might read their scriptures a lot or read their religious texts a lot to make sure they're good with whoever they're worshiping. If you have moral scrupulosity, you might constantly worry about lying to someone on accident, inadvertently stealing something from a store. You might have concerns with being a bad person, so you're always looking for reassurance or checking in to see how you're doing with people. There's also relationship OCD that some people don't know about, which is a constant need to check to see if your partner loves you. You might be obsessed with them maybe being unfaithful to you, so you might check their ex-girlfriend or boyfriend's Facebook to look to see what's going on with them, and you just get kind of consumed with that reassurance. You might check all the time and say, do you love me? Do you want to be with me? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Wow, and I mean, there's so much more to that as well. But would you say, because there are so many different types, there's so many different treatment options, because you can't just do like a blanket treatment for all of these, right?
Well, the good news about OCD is the same cycle is involved in all kinds of OCD.
Okay.
So for example, with contamination, you walk into a bathroom, it looks dirty, it feels dirty, you feel distressed, you wash your hands, you feel a little better. With relationship for OCD, for example, you might have a thought about your husband or wife cheating on you, then you feel distressed about it, and then you ask them, do you love me? Are you still there? And you still get that temporary relief. So they're all the same cycle, that's the good news, and exposure with response prevention works for every type of OCD. But you're right about it can seem a little confusing if it's more mentally based or physically based, but yes, ERP works for all of them.
That is kind of great, because you can put it into perspective and help so many people that way. And so what are some examples of exposures used with those subtypes?
So with those subtypes, for example, with relationship OCD, you might just do something as simple as saying out loud, I live in a world where my partner could be unfaithful, and I'm okay not knowing right now if they're doing that. That can be as simple as that can be the exposure. The exposure might be purposely thinking a thought and not asking for that reassurance piece. So thinking, maybe my wife is not faithful, maybe my husband's not faithful, and I'm not going to ask them about it right now. Just to kind of introduce that anxiety, just like you would with contamination. You might go in and just touch something quote unquote dirty and then not wash your hands. For scrupulosity, same kinds of things. We're not asking people to say something blasphemous, but you might say something like if you're a Christian, you might say, and you're afraid of offending God, you might say something like, at the end of a prayer, you might say, Jesus, you had stinky feet, or something like that. You might just throw that in the end, which seems silly, but to a person with that type of OCD, it's going to be really distressing to say that. And then you work on not asking forgiveness for that thing.
Gotcha. Yeah. So if people are, interested in learning more, I think this is so fascinating that, so there's so many different subtypes out there, but again, using that same type of treatment so they can really get that help. If people are interested in learning more, how can they do that and maybe set up an appointment with you?
Well, they can go to our website, rivercityocd.com. They can check out the International OCD Foundation. There's usually an article on most subtypes, but I know for a fact that River City's website has tons of articles on the different subtypes, so they can reach out and set up a consultation with us if they're interested.
All right, Dr. B, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, to learn more, head over to rivercityocd.com.